So Hare Krishna everyone, welcome back to our Gita Gyan level 2. So we are discussing a special topic today, but before we go into that, let me just begin with my prayers, invocations. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Tat Sat Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vigna Vinasha Narasimhaiti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayati Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyam Ishwaram. Okay, so welcome again. We have two of you only, Selvarani, Madam Selvarani and Rajendran Prabhu. Okay, but never mind. I will just continue with it and we will just see. Okay, so today the topic we wanted to discuss, initially I wanted to continue with the Gita Mahatmya, but then I thought due to some questions raised and everything, we would want to bring forward the topic on the law of karma. So that is something which we will bring earlier and we will cover the Gita Mahatmya later on. Okay, so let's begin. Right, so you can see this picture. So this is just to show what's happening in the world, which is many times not really shown in the news and in the screen and in all the different situations that the news portals that we hear. So nearly there is a large percentage of people in the world who are born into poverty. Well, we have all heard about the 80-20 rule, right? Where they say that 80% of the resources of the world is controlled by 20% of the population. So that's the 80-20 rule. But actually, it's slowly becoming 90-10. So even in Malaysia, previously there was B40, and then there was M40, and then there was T20. Now it is T10 and B40 and B40 or 50, I think. So the percentage of the very wealthy is shrinking, and the percentage of the very not very wealthy is increasing. So nearly a large percentage. So what percentage? Here I'm going to show 36% of the world's population. So if the world's population is to be about something 7.7 billion, right? 1.89 billion people in this world. Now, what is 1.89 billion? So this is the number, just to indicate to you, 0.8901. 1.89 billion people are born into poverty. And we find out of this, almost 700 million people live in extreme poverty. And this has been going on every year. And despite all this, this is not new, you see. So why I'm bringing this up here is because right now we have the COVID pandemic, and then the deaths which are being reported daily. But very few of us know that there are actually, every year, the deaths are always there. For example, 500,000 deaths yearly just due to hunger. This is around the world. And this is every year. But we don't hear this. Nobody shares this in the WhatsApps. Nobody shows this in the news. Very seldom. People don't want to be reminded. So they live their lives. So they go through their different situations. But this is going on. So why is this happening? So it's easy for people to always come and blame God. Oh, it's because of God. God has created all this. So, but if we look deeper, right, we can try to see, how did this come about? Was the world created like this? So we hear from our scriptures how it was very different in the previous ages. So what we can see, mostly we can find, remember the 80-20 rule? So we find that 20% of the population own 80% of the resources of this world. So this is called capitalism. So the real culprit is actually capitalism. So what is this capitalism? Where you can enslave fellow humans and rape the planet and be praised for the good business sense. So this is capitalism. So it's basically running on lust and greed. So lust is the desire to have more, to enjoy something, and greed is not having enough of it, and not just having enough of it, to get others as well, to as far as possible, whether rob, murder, or steal, as long as they get what they want in any way that they can get it. So this is happening, right? So now people are getting poorer and poorer across the globe, and the richer are getting richer and richer. And this is called capitalism. So what do the capitalists, so there are a few powerful people in this world who are called the capitalists, and they have more or less conquered many of the governments of the world. They have actually infiltrated, and they exploit, and they basically pull the strings behind many of the governments in the world. And what are the tools which they use? So one very powerful tool is propaganda. The power of propaganda. Propaganda means the spreading of, okay, here I'm going to give you a few definitions of propaganda. So this is by a famous personality, Francis Comfort. Propaganda is an art of lying which often deceives its supporters more rather than the opponents. So what is this propaganda? Propaganda was first started to be used very much in World War II. You know, when Germany was trying to conquer other parts of Europe, they would they will actually fly in the aeroplane and they will drop pamphlets. They will drop pamphlets and booklets everywhere in the opposing country. And in the pamphlets, they will write all kinds of things. They will say that their side is winning, how the non-Nazi side is losing terribly, how people are dying on the other side, how it's better to join the Nazis. So like this is, you know, and this went about as news. So it's basically spreading information, which is, doesn't matter whether it's true or not. The information is purposely made in such a way that it will drive a certain agenda. It's based on an agenda. They have a purpose behind it. They want people to think in a certain way and then eventually act in a certain way, which will profit them, which will profit those people who are sending these things. So that's propaganda. So there are lots of books written on the power of propaganda. So here, this is by Edward Bernays, father of propaganda. So he's the person who mainly wrote academic books to coin propaganda. This is called the father of propaganda. So if we understand the mechanism, so what he says, if we understand the mechanism and motives of the group mind, it is now possible to control and regiment the masses, that means the population, according to our will, without them knowing it. So this is the art of propaganda. It is to spread information in such a way to make it look like this is the real truth, and to make the rest, the mass of the population, to believe in a way where it will become possible for the capitalists to control them without even them knowing it, that they are being controlled. So this is the secret of propaganda, to lie in such a way that they do not know that they are being lied to, and they believe it, and then they act in a way which will profit the capitalist. And then here are some more quotes. Propaganda works best when those who are being manipulated are confident that they are acting on their own free will. And this is Hitler. He used propaganda maximum during World War II. We saw a lot of propaganda because that's when the printing press was made. So a lot of false information was being spread to the public. So what does Hitler has to say here? By the skillful and sustained, so skillful, very carefully taking lies and truths and mixing together, very carefully, skillfully prepared information, and sustain, that means continuously bombard you with the same information. Every day you get the same information, you know, like nowadays we're hearing every day, Omicron, Omicron, Omicron. So like that, say sustained bombarding of this propaganda, one can make people see even heaven as hell, or an extremely wretched life as paradise. So they are trying to brainwash people to make them think in the way that they want them to think. So this is mind control methods, propaganda. Propaganda is a powerful tool. It's powerful as heroin. It dissolves the capacity to think. So this is what happens, right? Most people, they just believe whatever they are being told. Like we see nowadays, most people will just receive whatever news they receive, whether it's WhatsApp or anywhere, and they will just accept mostly. And without thinking whether the news has validity, whether there is a hidden agenda behind, they will straight away forward it to other people. And in this way, spread the propaganda to others. So how many of them they will just accept? This is Hitler's main communication minister. During the World War II, during the Nazi Germany, Hitler had a propaganda minister, a minister just for propaganda. These days, we call that Minister of Communication or Minister of Media or the Home Ministry. So this is what he says. Let me control the media and I will turn any nation into a herd of pigs. So in other words, he's saying, I will control them. I will get them docilely to do whatever we want them to do. So this is one of the tools of the capitalists. And what has it resulted in? It has resulted in democracy. So, and this is what Thomas Jefferson, one of the previous presidents of the United States, has to say about democracy. But democracy is nothing more than mob rule. That means the gang. The gang. Who is the gang? The gang is the majority. So the gang will rule, where 51% of the people may take away the rights of the other 49%. So we see that happening, especially nowadays also, right? So this is, and we could ask, who empowered them? Who created this democracy? Was it God? Was God responsible for doing this? So the very definition of democracy, the democracy is known as a government of the people, by the people. So who created this? Who caused these problems? So it's not God who created democracy. And over the years, we are the ones who have elected these people, and we are the ones who have put them in their power. And what has the democracy resulted in now? So the democracy has become kleptocracy, state of institution of theft. So the government exists to steal from the people. And when the people protest, then there are many, many ways to stop those protests. So that's what's happening these days. And these governments, they have worked towards a certain goal. What is the goal? The goal is capitalism. They want the richer to become richer and richer. They don't care how they become rich. They just want to get the money. So therefore, they create false war. They create false tensions. They create false or real. They use propaganda to fan the false tension. And then they use, they start creating tension where there was no tension previously. So in this way, and then they sell these countries weapons. After creating the tension, after making people believe there is tension, then they will sell them weapons. So rise in global arms. So lots of 46 billion in 1982. 46 billion US dollars were made from global arms trade simply by selling weapons to various countries. So in this way, they profit. This is what happens. So that's just one tool. There are many tools the capitalists have. Then another example of a tool is the pharmaceuticals. So there are many, many books written on this by not normal people, by professors and great people. The government, big pharma, and the people, a century of disease. So they have made the situation such that human beings now are extremely very much dependent on pharmacies, on pharmaceuticals. So basically the modern medicine system, right? They are being told they are sick, they are not well, and all kinds of things they have created to tell them about their difficulties. And then they have given them various drugs, and then they have told, and these drugs make them addicted to it, and stopping these drugs creates other problems, and continuing these drugs creates other problems. So this is what's happening. The big pharma conspiracy. So there are many, many things to read on that. The truth about the drug companies. How do they deceive us and what do they do about it? So how do they deceive us? Why is this happening? Because if you see America alone, most of the pharmaceuticals come from America. And even now, the power of the American pharmaceuticals is even more powerful than even Health Organization. Even World Health Organization follows the advice of the CDC, which is in America, the Center of Communicative Disease, and also the FDA. So, and if you see America, this is the breakdown of pharmaceutical. You know, the people in America, they have two types of governments, Democrats and Republicans. So here is a show of how much money the pharmaceutical industries have pumped into the candidates during election for the Democrats and for the Republicans. 6.62 billion US dollars was pumped to 189 Democrat candidates in the US alone, and also to the Republicans, in case Republicans win. So why do they do that? They do that because they want to control the politicians, and they want to make the politicians pass laws which will support the pharmaceutical companies. So like that, they have different situations. And they even buy not only politicians, they even buy scientists. Scientists, those days, scientists, their philosophy was, I must find the explanation for this phenomenon in order to truly understand what's happening. That's how scientists used to think previously. But now, there are so many different key performance index which has been put on scientists, that scientists now think very much differently. This is how the scientists think now, because they are being funded by various governments which are controlled by pharmaceuticals and also by private agencies. And what do they say? I must find the result that fits my narrative. So they already have a narrative. That means the companies already told them what kind of results you must get. If you get other type of results, we are not going to be happy. So this is and then they will force the scientists. So in this way, they will try to manipulate data in order to please the pharmaceuticals. So this is what's happening. And this is the worldwide deaths. You can see, right? COVID in 2020, April 1, the number of deaths in the world is 46,488. But you will find seasonal flu, which has been happening yearly, is 121,000, 3 times the amount of deaths which has been going around throughout the years, and nobody had made much about it. Because at that time, there was no vaccines against flu. But later on, they produced vaccines and people were still not taking flu very seriously. So then suddenly COVID-19 came into the picture, and now we know what's happening these days. So then malaria, suicide, look at suicide. Suicide number is 270,000. It's easily 6 times the number of COVID-19 in April 2020. This is yearly data, right? This is the number of things that's happening in the world. Traffic fatalities, alcohol consumption, deaths due to alcohol consumption, 627,000, 3 times that of suicide. And smoking, double that of alcohol, 1.254 billion. And then cancer and all that, okay, that's disease, fine. But look at abortion. 10 billion deaths of babies every year due to abortion. So the capitalists don't want this kind of data to be public. So you don't find this much in news. You don't find this anywhere. It is happening yearly. Every year it's been happening. So, but COVID-19 just happened 1 year and the thing became a big news. Why? Because economy was affected. And of course, they have their own other agendas as well. So purposely, they want to, it's all economy linked. But the other things, it was strangely silenced. None of these things were raised. So then propaganda machine came into the picture. And because why people want abortion? People want abortion because they want to, capitalists, They want money. They don't care about morality. They don't care about anything. And what do they want to do with that money? They just want to enjoy whatever it takes. So therefore, they do enjoying without responsibility, enjoying without accountability. So this is capitalism for you. And therefore, the capitalist will push the propaganda machines, the propaganda news. Most of the news agencies in the world is owned by billionaires. For example, Bloomberg, Fox. So like that, all these places are owned by millionaires, capitalists. And they like to push this agenda. Abortion is a right. So now, abortion is healthcare. So this is how it's being packaged and being sold to people. And people believe them. And then they come and say, oh, it is God's fault. God has created these problems for us. So this is consumerism. This is a big whale in the ocean which had so much of garbage in its stomach due to all the consumerism and pollution due to irresponsible and unaccountable consumerism and capitalism. And then the governments push further institutionalized consumerism, where it became a factory where living creatures are exploited ruthlessly and cruelty became normalized. Nobody talks about what happens behind the scenes. Nobody talks about what happens in the slaughterhouses. And then they will say it is God's fault when something happens. So who's responsible for all of these things? Isn't it? So the governments, who put those governments? Who supported those policies? So therefore, there is this verse from the Bible, the Isaiah 1.15, King James Version. So there the Lord says, and when ye spread forth your hands, I will hide my eyes from you. Ye, when ye make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. So this is from the Bible. And in this way, the entire earth, now we have climate issues, climate changes, all kinds of situations which are happening. And we will still call them an act of God. And at the same time, we will try to say it is God who's responsible without thinking about what are our roles in all of these situations. So therefore, Bhagavad Gita 3.10, in the beginning of creation, this is not how the Lord left this world for us. So when it was created, what happened? In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods along with sacrifices for Vishnu and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this yajna, sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. So the Lord didn't create a world which was faulty. It was well created. Everything was there. Every herb bearing seed, every plant, every tree, every mountain, every river, every ocean was full of vitality. Everything was there. And then man was created as well. And what has happened? So man did not rejected the Lord and took ownership of this world and adopted the philosophy of consumerism and capitalism and hedonism, of enjoyment without accountability, without responsibility, in other words, without sacrifice. So therefore, Bhagavad Gita reminds us that if one wants to live happily, one needs to perform sacrifice, yajna. So the Lord wants us to be responsible. So we have to understand that everything doesn't come from us directly. It comes from the Lord. The Lord bestows all these things for us, right? So, but most of us have given up this culture of sacrifice. As Kali Yuga expands, the culture of sacrifice diminishes and the media takes control. So whose fault is that? Is that God's fault? We have rejected him. We have pushed him aside. And yet, when things happen, we are quick to blame. So that's one question. Later, we will explore the answers to this question. What scripture has to say for our understanding. But at the same time, let us also look at other questions. So the world is full of disparities like these. What kind of disparities? We see children, for example, children being born, some children are born very happy, right, very healthy, to wealthy family, whereas some children are born deformed, their future doesn't look very bright, bleak, right? So inequalities, these are called disparities. Some are born very nice, some are born very badly. Some are born very rich, some are born deformed, in very difficult situations where they don't have much control of their environment. Some are born beautiful, some are born sickly, some are born with everything settled for them, nice families, relationships, a life of ease, whereas some are born into very difficult situations, poverty and all that. Some are very healthy, right? And whereas we have others who are not, who are born in abject misery. Some have it all the pleasures of life, all the wealth, all the ease. And some are torn, families torn apart by war, by disasters, by various difficulties in life. So due to this mass of population, what has happened to this population of the world? Majority of the population of the world have been led astray by these capitalist leaders, by these irresponsible and unaccountable, greedy capitalists who are promoting consumerism every day to the mass public so that they can profit. And along the way, what have they tried to do? Do we remember, ever since the lockdown, what was the first thing that got struck in a lockdown? The first thing that got struck in a lockdown, it wasn't schooling, it wasn't other things, it was houses of worship, right? No more temple worship, no more temple visits, no more mosque visits, no more anything, right? Stay at home. Working can, economics, business can, school also can, right? But restaurants also can, but temple worship, no. So then, even now, every other place, mall, shopping complexes, everything else is fine. But the first thing that, the first casualty that will take place will always be temples, worship, places of worship. Because the capitalists, in the beginning, in the early times, during the last few, even 50 years ago, until the last 50 years ago, right from the time of Jesus, right, the West has tried to use religion as a way to control people. So they have used religion in various ways. You know, that's why, you know, Catholicism and all that broke, and then there's Protestantism. So many difficulties happen. They hijacked, the capitalists, they hijacked politics, that we already know, but they also hijacked religions. And they controlled various people there. And they tried to manipulate the teachings of religion. And in this way, they control the people. But the last 50 years onwards, ever since media came, technology, so we found that more, and the capitalists found, oh, we have a better master than religion. Because anyway, people were not so religious. They were slowly due to all the corruption, people were slowly losing faith. So now let's think of a better way to control the population. So media, technology, scientists, so these kind of things, WhatsApps, smartphones, all these various technologies, communication technologies. So this became the new opium for the masses. And therefore, they abandoned the religions. So the capitalists wanted people to become atheist. They thought it's better these people become atheists, and then eventually they take up, in this way we can control them better. So that's the problem. Majority of the population now, even though they accept some form of religion, but most do not really have faith. They just do it as the sake of ritual, or they do not understand the purpose behind religion. And that has become lost. So what can they do? The poor population, they become deviated. And in the end, they do not understand many things about why things are happening. So a lot of modern generation, they will raise their question. Why do bad things happen to good people? Why? I didn't do anything. I'm just following the system. I'm just part of this. So I didn't do anything. Why is this happening to me? Why? So then some people who do follow some forms of religion, or who attempt to follow, and then when bad things happen to them, then they said, I tried to be religious. I tried to follow. I tried to do certain things. So why still bad things happen to me? Oh, is God partial? Is God not fair? So, if you look at, as I showed you just now, the discrepancies, how some people are born, most religions, they can't really explain also. So you will find that, in the Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and all that, they do have some concepts, like they have the concept of kifara in Islam. But kifara doesn't, kifara is able to explain, basically it will say, Abrahamic religions, they will say that this is the test of God, that God is testing us, right? So he wants to see how we are dealing with these tests. All right, that's fine. We could accept that. But why are babies born in these situations? Why are children born in these situations? What kind of test are they going through? What did they do that they are being tested in such a way? So that they fail to explain. So this is the problem. And it's not that these answers are not there, but these answers were carefully removed from religion. And of course, we will have another topic probably if we have people who are interested one day to talk about the comparative religions. But anyway, the point is, people will ask this question: why is God partial to some? Is he unfair? Why is God being unfair to me? So they will raise this question. Whereas we hear in all scripture, even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Samoaham sarva bhuteshu. I am equal to all. Bhagavad Gita 9.29. So then how do we understand this? Here is God saying that he is equal to everyone. And at the same time, so much of, apparently we see a lot of unfair things happening in this world. Why? Good people are suffering. The bad people are going on and enjoying. So what is this? So how to understand this? So to understand this, the point is, if we want to understand, those with faith will find ways and means to understand. Those without faith will give any excuse to abandon religion, which they see as something which is constricting their freedom to enjoy life. So therefore, the moment they get the slightest excuse, oh, okay, therefore they will just abandon it very quickly. So faith is very important. And faith also is synonymous to patience. So sometimes the answers need to be, we need to wait for these answers. It's not all the time we may get it. But God also says, right, in the Bible, seek and ye shall find. How many of us seek? How many of us spend active time seeking? So that's another question also to be considered. So anyway, how to understand all these things? If we open our eyes and we look around us, we can easily understand many things. For example, we find, what do we find? Do we not find these things happening? You see, just like some people, we see here the Agung, right? He is giving a datukship to this person. He's giving an award, a very high, he's being glorified, this person, right? And we can see here the Queen of England is knighting a person. So this is one of the highest awards which can be given. It's not as a recognition. So some people are promoted. So this is a medal of honor for a brave soldier. So like that, sometimes we see people being promoted, people being honored, people given all kinds of facilities by other people. The government, the authority of the country awards them. At the same time, we also see people being demoted, punished, and put into prison. So we find these things happening. And some of them are even being put to death. So then, how do we understand this disparity? Is this not a disparity? So why some people are punished? Why some people are not punished? So can we say that the government is unfair? Well, nowadays, these days, right, we don't want to, that's a different point, right? We have corrupt governments and so forth and all that. But in general, in the principle, right, we have law courts, isn't it? We have the court. Who makes this decision, right? The government makes the decision, isn't it? So in the court of law, right, the judge may award lots of money in compensation to some people, and he will punish some people who both also come to the court. So then the question may be asked, is the judge partial? Why is the judge unfair? Why the judge is giving money to this person and the judge is putting this person in prison? So obviously this is, we can understand this very easily. Just like in school also, some students become prefects, or they become ketua prefect or whatever. They get, ketua darjah or whatever, these kind of positions. So usually, at least we hope that it should be because they are responsible, they have shown good qualities, they have done well in their exams or something like that. So they are rewarded. And others who don't follow are punished. So the point here is there are rules. There are what we say laws. And those who follow the law and perform well, they are honored. Whereas those who fail to follow the law, who break the law, they are punished. Of course, as I said, nowadays the court is no longer, we have corruption sitting everywhere. We have the capitalists who have controlled the judiciary, the politicians, the police, all kinds of things we have. But putting that aside, the point here is we have laws. So similarly, there are also laws which were created in this material universe. This world, if there are laws for a simple, everywhere there are laws. Even for a simple game of football, there are laws, isn't there? So if you want to play football, there are laws. You have to kick the ball into this goalpost only. You cannot kick anywhere else. You cannot kick in your opposite goalpost. And you cannot use your touch with your hand. So like that, there are different rules. You want to play badminton, there are rules. You want to play cards, also there are rules. Even simple children games, like, using their hands to play and all that, also there are some kind of rules. So everything that is worth doing has some kind of rules. So, and countries have rules, governments have rules. So why not this creation, right? Why not nature? So the Lord says here, Prakriti or material nature is said to be the cause of all material causes and effects. So just like, right, we have the laws. Prakriti is material nature. Is the laws which govern material nature. So nature, in other words, the laws of nature, the world, the universe is created this way as per the creation of God. So there's a certain way it works. So it's not God who is responsible for the response. God created it. God created the rules. Yes, he created the game, he created the field, and he created the rules. And then he gave the rules also to the people. But if the people don't follow the rules, and then wrong things happen to them, right? Then they cannot blame God, because those who broke the rules are themselves. So here Krishna is saying, Prakriti, material nature, is the cause of material causes and effects, not directly God responsible. Whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. So who is the cause of the suffering and the enjoyment of the people of this world? So Krishna says, it's not me. Not only it's not me, it's not even material nature. It's not even Prakriti. Because initially I created all these things. I gave you the rules. You follow the rules. And then slowly, gradually, you will come to the point of liberation. And then you will come back to me. But along the way, the jivas became arrogant. They became lusty. They became demoniac in nature eventually. And they completely chose to forget the Supreme Lord or his rules. And that's what happened. So the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. Just like in a classroom, the rules are set by the teacher or the government. But if the student in the class doesn't follow the rules, he starts taking starts going to another student's desk and tears up his books. So obviously there will be repercussions. So it's not that the people who are serving the sentence are happy, but they have to do it. They have to maintain uh, fairness to others, to other living entities as well. So therefore, Krishna says, my dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice, the sacrifice which I mentioned earlier, in the beginning of creation, the Lord gave these sacrifices for us, for our own enjoyment. By performing these, we will get everything that we want. So if we do not follow human life, the cycle of sacrifice thus established by the Vedas, what is the result of that? If we try to enjoy without sacrifice, that means we are a thief, and that is breaking the laws of God. That is exploiting nature. So that is considered sin, and sin is punishable. So in this way, these jivas who are in this world, they meet with good and evil among various species. And what is these laws? So these laws are called the law of karma. So karma is a very popular word. A lot of people talk about karma, but actually not so many people understand how karma really works, or they will imagine their own understanding without any confirmation, as if they created the word of karma, and in this way they will imagine it. But we have to understand, if you want to follow the rules, we should refer to the authority. So the rules of God, karma, we should refer to the authority of the scripture, what is given by God, right? So karma and its law. So this is perfect law. It's not man-made law. So what is this karma? Karma is basically justice, universal justice, balancing the scales of justice across space and time. It transcends space anywhere in the universe, and transcends time also. It doesn't matter whether it's today, could be in the past, it could be in the future. So justice is perfectly served to everyone, perfectly. There is no issue here. So we can begin to understand karma. It's not difficult to understand karma. Karma is very logical. It's very natural in its form. It's not unnatural. It's very easy to understand. Just like that, you know, even in physics, in science, we have this. It's the law of the universe, isn't it? Newton's third law. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. This is universal law of physics. Everybody knows, right? You hit something, right? There will be a reaction to the, you go and slap someone, they'll slap you back. Simple way of showing reaction. So everything that we do, there is a repercussion. We cannot escape it. It may not be obvious to us. It may be hidden, right? It may not even happen immediately, but it will happen. One day it will bear fruit. So this is the law of action. So it's obvious, even in physical situation, every law of physics works around this. So only fools will come and say that in actions also, there is no law. I can do whatever I want, and in this way I can survive. Nothing will happen to me. So it's just a matter of time. But how to understand this correctly? In order to understand karma, we must first understand that we are not this body, we are the soul. So that's why Krishna began chapter 2 with the knowledge of the soul. The first knowledge that he gave to Arjuna was, look here, Arjuna, you are not this body, they are not this body. When they die, when you die, you are not going to be killed. Everything is not going to be finished. You are going to continue your journey into another body. Just like you enter one car and then you exit the car and you enter another train, and then you exit the train and then you enter a house. So like that, different places you are going. So it's not going to be ended in this one lifetime. Sorry, Arjuna. So Krishna is telling, if you thought everything would be finished in this life, then they are in illusion, because that's not what's happening. Many evidences are there, right? In reincarnation, so many scientific evidence is also there, which is showing, you know, different aspects of reincarnation. So Atma Tattva is the basis. They must know that they are Atma. So the living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another. So what does he carry? Not only he carries himself, which is the Atma, but together with him comes the different conceptions of life. That means his mind, intelligence, and his ego comes together with the soul and goes from one body to another body to another body. And then like that, it goes on in different species. But so, and he enjoys the various going on. So, but what happens? So what about our actions? Our actions finished in this lifetime? Is it that whatever that's done in this life is finished? So even in the Bible, Galatians 6:7, there is this verse. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Right? It's an English proverb also. Right? We sow as we reap as we sow. Right? Whatever we throw. You throw, if we throw a seed, right? If we throw cabbage seeds, Do cabbage have seeds? No, cabbage don't have seeds. Okay, if we throw pomegranate seeds, then pomegranates will grow. If we throw mango seeds, then mango will grow. If we throw, what else? Long beans seeds, then the long bean plant will grow. You cannot expect durian to grow from the long bean plant, right? So it's there. Whatever we sow, that he shall also reap. But sometimes we don't see this happening. That's the question, isn't it? Why do good people suffer? Apparently good people who have done some good things, right? So there are two problems with this assumption. Why do good people suffer? Firstly, do we know for a fact that they are good? Do we know for a fact that every single thing they have done is good? They have not done anything bad in their lives? We do not know that. Secondly, we have to be patient. So it may happen at one point of time. So just like seeds, do seeds grow immediately? When we throw the seed on the ground, does the seed immediately sprout? It takes some time, isn't it? So therefore, sometimes it may not also be in one lifetime. The karma that we do, the action that we perform, the result of that action, in fact, majority of the result of that action may not come during this lifetime. It may come in other lifetimes. So this explains perfectly why some people are born rich, some people are born poor, some people are born beautiful, some people are born not so beautiful, some people are born healthy, some people are born not very healthy. So these disparities can perfectly be explained by this concept of the law of karma. Just like we throw a seed on the ground. Some seeds grow quickly. Like if, lalang very fast grows, isn't it? Within a few days, you can see the lalang coming out. But if you throw a mango seed, mango takes sometimes months to years before it sprouts. So like that, it depends on the quality of the action, on the type of action. Some activity, immediately we get results. Some activity, just like we have this experience in our life also, right? When we study, right? When we study, how many years we study? So many years we study, isn't it? What is the result of that studying? We want to get some, some degree or whatever, and then, but does the degree come immediately? It has to take years of studying, isn't it? Years of sacrifice, years of cultivation before the fruit is out. Just like somebody gets married, right? Do they expect a child immediately on the next day? Nowadays they do. They have songs saying like, you should get it. Shall I get married and then have a child, or shall I have a child and then get married? So we have some people going, the propaganda is going on like that. But the point is, after marriage, it takes time. So one has to try for the child. There are many factors to getting a child. And then after that, it takes about 9 months. And then only the child is born. And then like that, it takes time, right? So certain activities, the results bear fruit later. So therefore, we plant the seed sprouts, the seed grows, and the seed flowers, and the seed, and eventually the plant bears fruit, right? And then we can see the result. So therefore, when we talk about karma, karma can be categorized into a few concepts. So first is kutam. Kutam is like the person, the farmer throws the seed. The action which has the very action which has the impressions in our mind. Kutam is like the impressions in our mind. Everybody is born in a certain way. We are born with certain impressions. Like for example, why do people become gay or lesbian? Why do people have this kind of impressions? When they are born, when they are a baby, you cannot see anything. When they are even young children, you can't see anything. But it's there deep inside. And then when the right time comes, they manifest these symptoms. So like that. So therefore, Kutam. Kutam is known as the impressions which are lodged within our mind. Every child comes with a certain package. It's all in the mind, somewhere deep inside, hidden in various places. So that's Kutam. Okay, waiting for the right impetus. And then we have Bijam. Bijam means they have started to put the seed. Just like Kutam is like the seed, but the seed is in a packet. We bought the seed from the shop. The shop it's all packeted nicely. The seed will never sprout because it's in a packet. So that is Kutam. But if you take out the seed from the packet and you throw it on the ground, that's Bijam. Already the action is one day it will bear fruit. So it's ready to, it's in the heart. So it manifests these impressions in our mind due to our past lives will manifest as desires, certain desires. Why do people have certain desires? Why is it I have this desire, I have that desire? Why some people like this, some people like that? So these are all coming from Kutam. So this Bijam is like desire. Kutam is impression, Bijam is desires. So these desires, if we water these desires, if we think of them, if we associate with people who also talk about these desires, so in our hearts, in our minds, there are many seeds, many impressions. But if we associate, if we get the opportunity to associate or have the opportunity to satisfy these desires, to think about them, then these seeds will start growing. They will start growing. It's like we are watering the seeds. So we water the seeds grow, the desires grow, and then if we act on these desires further, it will bear fruit. So that is called phalan. And if still the fruit may be there, but if we act wrongly, if we take advantage of this fruit, if we decide to eat this fruit, then that is called prarabdha karma. That means we are now enjoying or suffering the result of our karma. So it all begins with impression. From impressions, desires. From desire, we think about them, we mix with people who also talk about them, and then we produce the fruit, we act on it, we produce the fruit, and then we either enjoy or suffer the result of the fruit. When we bite the fruit, if the fruit is sweet, okay, we enjoy it. If the fruit is sour, then we suffer the sourness. So in this way, karma works. Kutam, Bijam. So there are different stages of karma. So it's not necessarily. So if we do a good thing, if we do a good deed, we plant that seed, right? The seed of the good deed is planted. The result of that, every deed will have a reaction, will have a reaction. Every deed. So whether it's a good reaction or a bad reaction, that is a very important question that we need to understand. Whether it's a good reaction or whether it's a bad reaction. So how to understand that? So that we will talk about later on, right? So to help us understand this story, this point of this philosophy of this karma, how karma works, right? I will just narrate a very simple story. Okay, so karma can be rather complex. So, for example, there was once a sage who told the story. This story is, at one point of time, there was a cow, and this cow escaped from its pen and it ran away. This cow was going to be slaughtered. You know, the cow was going to be brought to be slaughtered for some reason, and the cow didn't want to be slaughtered, so it ran away. But as it ran away, eventually, some people, bandits, who wanted to take this cow and kill it and eat its flesh, right? So they came and they chased this cow. The cow was running in fear, and the men were chasing. but the cow was a bit intelligent, managed to evade them a little. And then eventually the cow came to a village. And in this village, there was a Brahmana. And this Brahmana, he studies the Shastra. He likes to study the Shastra. He was sitting there studying the scripture. And he tried to be a good person. But he wasn't well versed in scripture yet. He knew some things, but he didn't know everything. So he was just a new student. So as he was studying the scriptures, the cow came, and the cow was running. And then the cow ran and it hid inside one of the huts in the village. And this Brahmana saw where the cow went and hid. So he knew. But anyway, he continued his studying. And then suddenly the bandits also came chasing after, and they came and they stopped when they saw this Brahmana. And they asked this Brahmana, "Have you seen the cow? There was a cow that came here." And this Brahmana looked at these bandits, and then he could understand that these people were bandits, and they were carrying weapons, and they would probably wanted to do bad things. But at the same time, the Brahmana also knew, these persons are asking me, now what should I do? If I lie and say that I don't know where the cow went, then I am lying. I have promised to uphold truthfulness, but I will be lying if I do that. So I shouldn't lie. But actually, that was just his excuse, his justification. Actually, he was also scared of the bandits because he thought the bandits will kill him. So anyway, and at the same time, the Brahmana also thought, but if I tell the truth, what will happen? These bandits will leave me alone, yes, but the cow will die. So what should I do? But then the bandits were looking angrily at this Brahmana. And then the Brahmana, out of fear also, what he did, he tried to make a compromise. So he so instead of replying to the bandits, he used his left hand and pointed towards the direction where the cow went, to the hut, specifically where the cow went. So he thought, okay, I won't use my right hand, I'll use my left hand. So usually left hand, sometimes it's not really accepted. Whatever I do in my left hand, actually not necessarily maybe the truth. So in this way he was thinking, and then he pointed. But the bandits knew, they got the picture, so they left him alone, and then they went into the other hut and they caught the cow, and then they brought the cow, and the cow eventually was killed. So anyway, this Brahmana also, he lived his life, and then he went on, and then one day he grew old and he died. After dying, he took another birth. He took a birth as another Brahmana. So he took a birth as a Brahmana in the same area, and he also studied scripture and everything. He also learned up a lot of things. The same, he continued learning, and this time he became a bit more wiser. He became a bit more learned. And one day he was traveling, and as he was traveling on a yatra, so then he came to a village. In this village, it was late, it was evening. So he was looking for a place to spend the night. So, and then he came to one of the houses, and then he knocked at the door. And in those days, the culture was that if travelers come, they will be welcomed, and usually they will be welcomed, and they will be given a place to stay for the night, and they will be treated very well. Guests are treated very nicely. So he knocked on the door, and when the door opened, a beautiful lady opened the door. So she was, and then she told, "Yes, how can I help you?" And then the man said, "Oh, I've come, I need a place to stay." So, and this man was a little good looking and everything. And this lady, she was also a bit beautiful. So, and this lady, unfortunately, wasn't a very high class lady. She was a bit of a low-class person. She was married, and she told this man, right? Oh, my husband has gone away actually, uh, and it's not. But never mind. Though my husband has gone away, why don't you come inside my house? I will take care. I will give you a place to stay. So actually, this lady, she sort of liked this Brahmana, and she sort of wanted to have a relationship with this Brahmana. She thought, oh, my husband is gone. Let me see, he's quite handsome, quite good looking or whatever. Let me enjoy tonight. I won't be so lonely. So in this way, she had her plan. And this Brahmana also entered the hut, and he should have known better. But again, due to whatever, the point is he entered the hut. And later throughout the night, this lady, after serving him and everything, she came and then she told in different ways, she tried to seduce him. She said, oh, you are very nice and young. I am also alone. So let us enjoy. So then the Brahmana said, no, I'm a Brahmana. How can you do this? This is a very wrong thing that you're asking. I only came to take shelter. You are married. This is not respectable. Then this lady didn't like to hear that. So she was very angry when this Brahmana rejected her. So then this lady wanted to take revenge. And at the same time, she thought that if this Brahmana leaves, he might spread the news that I was trying to attract him, and this will not be good for my reputation. So better I do something to him. So what she did, she immediately tore her clothes, classic Tamil drama those days. She tore her clothes. She went and bruised herself here and there. And then she ran into the village and she started shouting to the village, oh, this person has tried to molest me. Please help me, help me. So then the village elders all came, and then they apprehended this Brahmana, and then they tried to have a trial. And in this trial, the Brahmana said, no, I'm innocent. I only came here to take shelter. This lady is the one who tried to seduce me and everything. But the lady said, no, I'm unfortunate person. I'm living alone. This man, he's trying to ruin my reputation. I was kind to him. I thought he was a Brahmana. So, she tried to say all kinds of things. But one of those people in the village elder council, he sort of knew, he had an idea that this lady is not a very nice lady. So he suspected a bit, but there was no proof. There was no proof to protect this Brahmana. It was just her word against his. And as a villager, they knew this lady, but they didn't know this Brahmana. So, villagers tend to protect themselves. So what they did, they said, okay, the punishment for molesting in those days was death. So the man would have been killed. This Brahmana would have been killed. But then they thought, okay, but never mind, this lady, she's not really very straightforward, okay? But nevertheless, we cannot leave you unpunished also, because there's no evidence. Otherwise, you should not have come into her house in the first place. So they told him, what we will do, we will punish you. What is the punishment? We will punish you, we will cut off your left hand from the elbow. We will cut it off. And then the man shouted his innocence, but what to do? His hand was cut off. So in this way, the man was left alive, but his left hand was gone. And then he left the house, and then he went back, and the story ended. But the moral of the story, the sage who was telling the story, he said, the Brahmana who got his hand cut off in his previous life, he was that same Brahmana who pointed to the bandits and used his left hand to show where the cow was taking shelter. So because he was a Brahmana, he tried to follow the Brahminical culture. He took birth again as a Brahmana. He didn't degrade himself to a lower birth. He managed to get a good birth. But despite having a good birth, because of the scriptural study and all that, that gave him a good birth. But still, because he did an adharma, he performed an adharma by pointing towards the cow when he should not have. He should have protected the cow. And his motive was also not very good. So because of his bad motive in this life also, his knowledge would be, he would not have the right sense to avoid certain situations. So because of that result, the man, when he entered that lady's house, he should have realized, I should not have entered that house. But at that time, the sin of his previous discretion came and blocked his intelligence. So he was not able to think that way. And then, because he pointed with his left hand, the left hand got cut off. So it was the left hand which pointed, and the left hand got cut off in this life, in the next life. And the lady was the cow. In the previous life, the lady was actually a cow. That cow who was killed. After being killed, that cow became this lady. And she had her revenge. So you can see here, right, how the revenge came, how justice came about. And so like that, this is how karma works. It's very complex, but it is never lost. The justice is always kept. So in this way we can understand there are it's the mills. There is another proverb. This is mentioned in the Bible also, right? Here it says, the mills of God grind slowly, but they grind exceedingly fine. So in other words, this is to say, the justice of God may come slowly, but when it comes, it is very fine. Not even a small thing is missed. We can be sure that every single grain is balanced. Nothing is left without balance. And we don't have to worry that the karma will catch us. There is no escaping karma. Here is a verse from Mahabharata. Mahabharata says, Bhishmadev is telling, as the young calf is able to recognize his mother from among 1,000 cows. So this is Vedic science. It says that a young cow, a calf, can recognize its mother even amongst a herd of 1,000 cows. We look at the cows, we will see all cows look the same thing. Maybe at least a few hundred cows will look the same. But the calf will recognize its mother no matter where they put it. So in the same way, so does karma find the person destined to experience that karma in the proper time. So there's no escaping it. It will be found. So some of the points that we can understand from this topic today here. Karma is universal perfect justice, like the story we just showed, right? It doesn't matter where you are, which village you are, which place, in which planet, which universe, and which time. It may not be this time, it may be in a different time, it may be a different lifetimes. After many lifetimes, it may come, depends on the type of action and the situation. So, but justice is assured. That is for a fact. Karma spans across space and time. Karma is very precise. So we do not have to worry about it. Karma is inescapable. So we cannot escape our karma. Activities are always there. What are the witnesses? The witnesses are the 10 directions of the witness. North, south, east, west, northeast, northwest, north, south, like that. And up and down. These are all the 10 directions. What else are the witnesses? Fire is a witness. Water, the elements are witnesses. Earth, water, air, fire, water. All these are witnesses. The sun and the moon are witnesses. The stars are the witnesses. And ultimately, Paramatma in our heart is the witness. So we cannot hide, right? It's inescapable. So Atma Tattva is the basis, right? So therefore, the personality of Godhead, this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Karmana Daiva Netrena, Jantor deho papatta ye striya pravishta udaram tumso reta khanashrayah. The personality of Godhead said, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord and according to the result of his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body. So what decides our karma? So all these things are under the supervision. It works. Nothing is random. According to the result of their previous work. So this is how karma works. So of course, there are many other aspects to it. We will see if we can cover them later. Wait, let me check the time. Okay, it's 9:20 now. So I will probably stop at this point. Then okay, we will do this the next time. So let me see if there are any questions from anyone. So not many of us joined today, very few. We only have, just now I think there was one other Prabhu Rajendran, he left just now. So we have Salvarani Mataji. Any questions, Mataji, or Naveen Prabhu? Anything you'd like to ask before we close? No?
No, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. So we have, this is just part one. There are other parts for us to understand in karma. How else, what are the factors? What we will understand in our next part. What are the factors that decide our birth? What should we do? What should we not do? How do we understand these things? So these points we will cover probably in our next discussion. If you have other discussion, other questions also, we can raise them. We can discuss it in our WhatsApp also. Okay, so if there are no further questions, we will end here. Thank you so much for your attendance. Right, we will end with our chanting of our Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you very much. So have a good New Year break, and we will see you all next time. Hare Bol.